Hello and welcome to January's Dadless Soul Sessions. We've gone first Thursday of the month now, pretty much. That was a decision I made last month, and I think it works better for us. My name's Jim Colson. I hope you're doing all right. First Thursday of the month is good. There's no events happening this week elsewhere that's going to get mixed up in the promotion. So that's when we're going to be doing the Dadless Soul Sessions from now on. First Thursday of the month. Make sure you're here. Whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. That's what you meant to say, isn't it? That's what all the newspapers say. Twitch and Mixcloud, wherever else you find us. And what we do is we tend to have insight from a main guest who's on about 9 o'clock on the stream, who has something to say about fatherhood, about being a man, or something in that area as well. So we've had all sorts of different people, including someone who helps women with self-defense. We've had Ben Morehouse, who does extreme walks to raise money to save babies' lives. We've had Chris Humphreys with his working with male survivors of sexual abuse. We've had Dave Chorner, the comedian, talking about mental health on stage and how he finds that joking about it's cathartic, and all sorts of other guests as well. Today, we've got a very special guest for you. Let me do the This Morning style menu where I bring this up and you can read it. And it's only really, I've been doing that gag sort of for about the last 6 months. And it's only today that I've thought, why not download this to have in the background while I was running you through what's going to go on the show this evening on the Dadless Soul Sessions. Dan, our Uber leader, is here very soon giving an update on the latest Dadless Soul developments. You've got at 8:45 Alex's conflict management clinic. Thank you very much to everyone who sent in questions for that. He'll be answering those in a bit. You can also send them in if you want on the chat wherever you are, and he'll do his best to answer them right now. And we've also got Chris Stein, who is Chris Stein. Sorry, I've tried my hardest to get his name pronounced right, and I got it wrong. Chris Stein of Future Men is going to be here talking about the organization's mission to inspire boys and men to become dynamic future men. So he'll talk about what that charity does and how they do it. And there's some stuff, I'll be honest, recorded that last night. There's some stuff in there about how he helps with prospective dads as well. So make sure you keep watching the Dadless Soul Sessions, all that stuff coming up on this evening's broadcast. And I'm filling for time while this music finishes before we go to the message that I recorded with Dan Flanagan, Dadless Soul, a couple of days ago, talking about what's going on with Dadless Soul. Welcome, Dan Flanagan.
Whoa. I'm coming into 2024 like Beyonce.
Such a shame, isn't it, that we don't write checks anymore? Because we lose that conversation that you have every year up until about April time. We're going, oh, I still keep writing the wrong year on the checks. But I can't remember the last time I actually wrote a check, so...
Did you do all the dad jokes of it on New Year's Eve? Oh, I'll see you next year.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. My favourite one was that in the morning I did that. Oh, you know what? It's like I've not seen you all year. And later on, my son told my wife, he went, "Oh, Dad said this," and Jill was like, "Yeah, it's a rubbish dad joke. It's not."
But we were not celebrating. Well, we should be celebrating the New Year's honours.
Yes, no. Once again, I got an OBE and was made an Earl, so now I'm an earlobe.
For the last 7 years, I've been consistently fed that gag.
I don't know when the anniversary of that joke is, but I want to look on Facebook just to see how many years I've been doing it. It's well over. It's probably a decade, if not more.
Here's a tip: don't eat bits of chocolate while you're on the radio. It sticks to the top of your mouth. Rookie error.
It is a rookie error. This is the Dadless Soul Sessions, obviously starting 2024 as it ended 2023 with this shambolic bit in the middle.
We were falling apart, aren't we? We just really, new year, new start, new me. No, I'm knackered and I'm broken and I'm going back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
There we
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
No, we're not.
So Daniel, what is
Yes.
going on with Dad La Soul?
What is going back? Well, the events start again next week. So to kick things off for our Hove dads, do you ever have those great parties that you organise for your kids? This is so much fun. I just wish the kids weren't actually here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's what we've done. One of our lovely dads, Connor, has a business with gaming vans. So he's got big old vans with the state-of-the-art VR headsets and PlayStation 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the back of it. And he hires them out for kids' parties. And I thought it'd be really interesting to hire this and see what happens with if the dads turn up. So next Thursday night, well, that's how we're going to start the new year, by having a party in a gaming van with grown-up gentlemen becoming quite children.
What I love about that is that you could have at any point said, yes, we'll hire this van and it'll go to the Worthing play day, the Brighton play day, it'll go to an event where there'll be children. But what you've specifically done is say, no, we'll do it at one of the Dad La Soul events where it's just dads.
Exactly. I think that's more than reasonable. The kids do get acres and acres and hours of, entertainment from us. And I just thought it'd be something nice. So it's part of our sort of dads nights out that we're organising. So last couple of years, as you know, we've been doing dad only get-togethers, but this year we're going to spice them up. We're going to bring in different facilitators, drop into different venues. So whether that be community kitchens, there's museums, there's DJ workshops, potentially street hypnosis. Yeah, we're going to jazz things up because I get bored very easily. So.
And so, yeah, that's a good way to start then. Hove, it's the gaming trucks coming around. That's next Thursday.
Yeah. And then Saturday is the Brighton play dates. And then we are, back to it with Hove, with Worthing, with Brighton. And then the new one is Lewes Football Club that we've been teasing, which starts on the 21st of February. But more information about that probably next time, because I don't want to get the crowd whipped up far too much too early. I've got to keep teasing it on like a caring and sensitive lover.
You've got to do a slow build up, haven't you?
A slow build up. This is I'm going to get my Barry White on, hey, which was turning to Mr. T.
Hey, you know what? I would listen to an album of Mr. T covers Barry White. I would do that. You're my first, my last, my everything. You crazy fool. No.
I
tell you what, we're also going to do. What we going to do? Should also pay attention to is on Tuesday afternoon. We're doing a live podcast. So we do the Dad La Soul Extra Time podcast. And normally you just get it in your pod provider of choice on a Friday every other week. Well, this time you have the opportunity to watch it happen live, watch the magic live. So basically, this is like a 10, 15-minute slot of the Dad La Soul sessions. The Extra Time podcast is this, but about an hour.
Can I say here and now, I thought that was a really good idea last year. Right. Now it's imminently. I'm thinking that sounds great if I don't have to be a part of it because it's terrifying me.
Okay.
Are we going into this? Are we doing this?
I think we'll do it. Let's not say we'll do it live every time. Let's say we'll do it once and we'll see how it goes.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, let's not dwell on that too much.
Everything.
Yeah. Loads and loads of things.
No, it's not. You've just, you are 2 decades into a career in broadcasting. We're in very, very safe hands. And this is me palming off all of the responsibility. Can you feel it?
I was about to say that weight I can feel on my shoulders right now. There we go. So then you don't have to enlist the Dad La Soul legal team then. Just have them on alert.
Yeah, things could get awkward. It could get controversial. Let's just do this. And yeah, I think it'd be nice, but to have these sort of conversations, maybe get a bit of interaction if we can, from the boys and girls at home during a lunchtime, because there's lots of us that either work from home or hybrid, and you miss these conversations because you're not in the same workspace. So you need some random water cooler, but also quite challenging conversations, and we are there to supply that, I believe.
And also, if you've ever listened to the Extra Time podcast and you've been so annoyed about something that we've said that you've wanted to get in contact and go, no, you're wrong, you're an idiot, or you're misremembering that, or that never happened, that's not how it works, or I can't believe you don't understand that, you could do that straight away and we will get that feedback instantly and be able to rectify it and then cry later in a corner.
We could do. Well, we had a nice testimonial that came in over the Christmas holidays where a lady, Helen, was listening and she spat her teeth out because it was so funny.
There you go. That is the pinnacle of what you need to achieve with a podcast. So,
isn't it?
So
you know what we could do? We could get like actual telephones and do caller dial-ins or listener dial-ins. What do you call them in the radio world, Jim?
Phone-ins.
That's the word I was the really easy word that I was struggling with.
No, it's good. And then we can use like random things as the phone, like they used to do on Live and Kicking. So you'd be there and, obviously they'd be able to hear it through an earpiece or something, but they'd still hold like a Roland Rat up to their ear and go, hi, how you doing? Sorry.
By the way, 5-star are all twats. Things like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was personal opinion for a second. Then I remembered that had happened. Happened to 5-star and Matt Bianco, didn't it?
Oh.
You'd think that they would. Oh, just heard myself back. Oh, Dan's broken his headphone.
Oh, Dan has broken his headphones. Seamless.
Am I going to have to actually edit this now?
No.
Should we keep that going? Keep it in. All right.
Happen on the live show.
That's what happens when someone mentions 5-star or Matt Bianco. They have agents listening to these things in order to stop that conversation and shut it down. Their lawyers are very strict.
Yeah, we have a heavy team of legal beagles. I think my headphones are giving in, so this is another warning for me to charge them up before we go live.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's good. So we're learning. We're already learning. We're already getting there. Also, 2024
headphones.
Oh, good. Dude. Yes. 2024 is going to be the year of maybe I'm just like my father, Series 2 as well.
Oh, yes. Very exciting news on coming about that.
Got a couple of those in the can. And then, we're going to do some more. And that'll be exciting. That'll be good.
Yes. And there's lots of events. There's our summer party coming up as part of the Brighton Fringe Festival in July. And new venues, new locations, 2 or 3 of it just waiting to be confirmed. But these will be the ones that are outside of our normal home of Sussex. So we are moving big things, as the kids on the street say.
Watch out, the rest of the world. Dad Lasol is coming.
Yeah, we are expanding. So that's that. So we're done.
Well, that was good. That was relatively succinct and to the point for these little chats.
It was. It's only because my headphones are broken. And I want to not shout out there because there are other people in my workspace that don't need to have this as on their first day back.
So you're saying they don't need to listen to me? They can listen to you all they like, but not to me.
You, but they don't want to listen to me. No, they've got things they'd rather be doing with their day, which means they're small-minded fools. But
are you calling me a small-minded
fool? I am calling you a small-minded fool.
I do want to listen. I've got an...
Sorry.
Okay. Well, Dan, thank you very much.
I'm being
that is not what you need, isn't it? But get used to it for Tuesday.
It is.
All right, Dan Flanagan, thank you very much. Oh, hang on. Let's do another round of applause. Hey, Dan Flanagan. And there you go. That was my chat with Dan, and it was as suitably nonsensical as you would imagine and hope, I think, as well. If you want to know more about the sort of stuff that we do on the Dadless Soul Sessions Extra podcast, here's a little clip. I've got into quite a good routine of dropping the kids off and going straight from school drop-off.
You go to the drop-off in Lycra?
I do go in my running kit, yes. Unlike 80% of the other people in activewear, I'm actually going to do some activity. Whereas they, full activewear, then you see them get it back into their Land Rover and drive off home to go and eat biscuits.
I did used to, when my son was really small, I had been known to do the drop-off in a wetsuit. But I'd have it folded down. So I'd have the trousers on, folded down with a T-shirt.
Right.
And I'd scoot into school. And the teachers used to take the mick, but it was the school was about 5 minutes from the seafront. So I could do the drop-off and then nip down straight and have a swim before I started work. Looking back and looking at the twig-like legs I've got, it could have scarred a lot of people.
So that's the sort of thing we get up to, the sort of thing we chat about. It's irreverent chat topics for the pub or the WhatsApp group that you can then take on, Nick, and use for yourself. And if you want to see next week's podcast being filmed live, that makes it sound grander than it is. We'll just live stream it basically here, and you can watch two middle-aged men bumble through a podcast. Hopefully it'll focus on mine so I don't have to edit it too much. But yeah, it's happening Tuesday, 9th of January, 1 p.m. Right, on the way, you've got Chris Stein from Future Men, who's going to be here talking about what Future Men does, what it is as an organization, how they support men and how they support new fathers as well, and what they think the future should be, what the kind of things we should be getting through Parliament to aid the kind of journey of men, I guess, is, and how they're planning to do that as well. So find out more about that in a little bit. First of all, it is our resident conflict management expert. Hello to Alex. How are you doing?
Hello, Jim. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm super. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I've downloaded the This Morning theme tune, so I don't know if it's going to get us into copyright trouble, but it just seems relevant. It's that sort of show, isn't it? We go from two middle-aged men chatting about nonsense to two young bucks chatting about conflict management.
Thank you. You're far too kind.
I try. So we have had people get in contact with some questions, and this one says, I informed my ex just after Christmas that I've got a Glastonbury ticket for this year and that I'd need the weekend free for it. Currently, I have the kids 3 weekends out of 4 as I'm not in the area. Her response was one of outrage. Why are you going to Glastonbury? What if I wanted to go? You should have discussed this with me when you were thinking about getting tickets. My response was, well, you've got 6 months' notice. Is it really an issue? How can I deal with this situation? Because it does not seem like that has been resolved.
Okay, first of all, congratulations on getting Glastonbury tickets. That's an achievement in itself. Secondly, this is difficult. And it's difficult because you both need and should have lives outside of your children. Yeah, that's really, really important. Every parent who doesn't have a life outside of their children is only storing up trouble for themselves as they go through parenthood. I can speak from personal bitter experience. My thought process about this would be, one, the easy option are the grandparents, relatives, godparents, whoever who could take the kids for that weekend. Is that a possibility? If it is, discuss it with them first so they get their buy-in before you then discuss it with your ex. If that isn't an option, then well, she's saying you didn't discuss it with her, but likewise, she didn't discuss that she was thinking about going with you. So it works both ways. Now, you don't want to do that in a confrontational way, absolutely. But you do want to say that, well, I have given you 6 months notice. I have, I plan things for myself like you plan things for yourself, I'm sure. So you need to try and push forward an agenda of, I want to work with you to get a resolution here, but I shouldn't be held hostage. I wouldn't use these words discussing it with her. This is to explain what I'm thinking. I shouldn't be held hostage to the fact that you want to possibly go. Well, I mean, basically, unless she's got tickets, she ain't going to be going now because they've all long since gone. So you will always have situations when you are co-parenting where you both perhaps want to do something at the same time, and that has to become a situation of give and take. You know, sometimes one of you goes and the other one doesn't. Next time it's the other way around. Yeah, but try and sit down, assuming you are on speaking terms with her, then sit down, have a conversation and say, you know, I want to go. I've given you 6 months notice. You know, I'm sorry I didn't discuss it with you beforehand. I didn't realize I had to. And, you know, likewise, you didn't actually tell me that you were thinking of going. Have you got tickets? That would be a way of, and if she says, yes, I have, then you might have a bigger problem. And you've got to find a third party. But if the third party doesn't work, then try doing the discussion about, well, you know, we all need to have a life outside children.
Mm-hmm. I guess it is one of those things. I can see sort of how it happens sometimes, that when you have that sort of fractious relationship, even things that could have been an issue if a certain set of circumstances had fallen into space become an issue. But actually, there really is no issue. She's got 6 months notice really to change it. It's just a matter. It's more of a matter of, I think, I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but better communication, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely communication. I was going to desperately try and get away without using the C word this time, but you dropped it in, Jim, so don't worry. But yeah, no, absolutely. And also, you know, at the end of the day, has she got anything actually planned that weekend? By the sounds of it, oh, well, I was thinking of going to Glastonbury. It's probably a no. It's probably more of an you're going, I'm not, than actually who's going to have the kids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing for the rest of the evening after this, let alone in June. So, you know, who knows? Apart from people who've got Glastonbury tickets, obviously. Right, next question. Yes. My teenage kids have been arguing over the amount I spent on them this Christmas. I went for gifts I thought they'd like and appreciate, and use, in brackets, but it seems I should have paid more attention to the exact cost. How do I help them see my point of view?
Right. Well, first of all, this must be really disappointing for you because, I mean, I think all of us found that Christmas was tough this year financially, and we spent what we could on our kids. And it may not have been as much as we've done in previous years, as much as we want to. Sit down with your children and say that you were really upset by their response. Yeah. Because actually Christmas isn't about the money. It's actually about the thought. And I'm just getting visions of, the first Harry Potter film, where I think it was the first Harry Potter film where he counted how many presents he had. This is not Harry, but his cousin that he lived with. And he was really upset there was one less than last year. And his father was trying to explain, well, yeah, but one of them, or some of them are really big. They're bigger, you know. And it has become this very fiscal, monetary driven, quantity driven, number driven event, which it really, really shouldn't be. Perhaps I'm just harking back to days gone by that we've left forever. I don't know. But sit down with your children, have a chat to them and say, I'm really sorry, but I chose presents very specifically for you that I thought you would like. Yeah. My question would be, how do they know what it cost? Yeah. And if they say, well, we looked it up on the internet or whatever, you go, well, yeah, I got different prices. That's always a good one. Yeah. There was a sale. There was whatever, you know, be economical with the truth. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. But also, you know, going forward, how do we avoid this next year? Fine. You set a budget. You tell them, give me, if they're teenagers, tell them to WhatsApp you a list, yeah, of what they want. And you say, this is your budget. This is how much you can. You go look, you go find, you know, and I'll do what I can within that budget. And the final thing you can do is if there's any money left over, then you can put that all together and go out for a family meal or whatever. Yeah. But it's about empowering your children to take some more control of what they get and what they want, but also making them understand that actually it's not about the value. It's about the thought.
Mm-hmm. Although if everyone that I know would WhatsApp me that list of what they want and a budget, that would be really handy. Thank you.
It would be really useful.
Being thoughtful is tough. So fair play to the dad who sent that one in. Next one. I work late and miss a lot of school events, family meals and things. It will get better in the next 5 years, but I'm building my business now and I have to be there. How can I help my partner understand that I'm doing this for the good of the family and it will pay off, but just not yet?
I can really sympathise with this one, because it was very much our family situation. For many years, I was working away from home in the NHS. I was staying away overnight. I was doing 60, 70 hours a week. It's the demands of the job that I chose to do. If you run your own business, and I have run 2 of my own businesses with my wife over the years, running your own business is also very time consuming and demanding. However, my greatest regret is that I spent too much time away from my kids when they were little. And my wife did an incredible job bringing them up, pretty much single-handedly a lot of the time. Yes, now I have a really good job. Now I can spend more time with them because of all the work I did back then. And so, yes, I can see the benefit of building your business. Of course, the end is justifying the means, or at least that's the way you're thinking of it. Yes. However, if you are running a business that requires you to spend that much time away from your family, I would challenge you on a purely business side, not a parenting side. Are you running your business efficiently? That's one thought. Yeah, having run 2 businesses of my own, I know that I wasn't, and then I learned how to run them more efficiently. So I spent less time doing them. Yeah, but still making the money I needed to. With this, I would really think about trying to focus your fee earning, and that's what you should be focusing on, your time where you earn money, not time where you're doing something just for the business. You're actually fee earning, yeah, to hours when your kids are otherwise occupied, school, nursery, whatever. And then spend the evenings and weekends with them. If you need to do admin work, I don't know what the business is, but if you need to do admin work, preparing quotes, etc., then that can be done after they've gone to bed, if you're that desperate to do it and you can't do it in the normal working day. Yeah. But I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But learn from my error, which is my greatest regret. I didn't spend enough time with my kids when they were a little.
So time management's a big thing of it, because there is the payoff, isn't there? And you've acknowledged that the payoff is, you have to put the work in to achieve that thing in the future. However, you also need to be around for your kids. So I mean, I would say if you want to outsource your content or anything to any particular Yorkshire-based content writer and creator, and you're watching this right now, particularly get in contact, not through Dad Lasol, because that seemed like I'm punting for work through a different organization. I'm sorry, it seems like this hypothetical Yorkshire-based content writer is punting for work through a different organization. But yeah, outsourcing actually is, I've written a lot about this. Some of my clients also work with business people, and outsourcing. I think the thing with people running their own businesses, I don't know if this is your experience, is that you want to have control of everything at all times.
It's trusting somebody with what is essentially your baby, non-human, but your baby, and trusting that to somebody else. And will they deliver the service that you want? And so I completely get it, but businesses will be there until you retire. And they can be static. Whereas children are never static. They're always growing.
Yes.
There's no time lag.
Tell me about it. My food bill suggests so. Anyway.
Yes. Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate it. Once again,
No problem.
sage words. And would you be around on the first week of February on the Thursday to give more advice?
I should be indeed. Yes. And it's a big month, February.
Why is that?
I'll leave you with a conundrum. I finally become a teenager.
Oh, are you a 29th of February baby? No way.
Yep. My wife is dreading it because it then means we'll have a 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and me as a 13-year-old.
Oh, wow. Right. Okay. Scrap the rest of this stream. I just want to talk about this. My son's really annoyed because his birthday's the 1st of March. So he's going to have to wait an extra day. Now, when do you normally celebrate? Is it the 28th of February or the 1st of March?
It's the 28th. 28th because as far as I was concerned, I was born in February. And secondly, actually legally, that is the date. If anything legally is meant to happen on the 29th and there's no 29th, it happens on the 28th.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I discovered that when I was 17 and I got my provisional driving license, because it obviously 17, I would have been 4 and a quarter, because that would have been the birthday. So there was no 29. It was valid from the 28th. And I went driving on the 28th as well on my 17th birthday with my mum terrified beside me.
I bet. Wow. Oh, I don't think I've ever met a 29th of February baby. And I'm so excited to have done that. Well, also February is also the best month for birthdays as well.
Yeah.
6th of February, if anyone's listening. Once again, if you don't want to get in contact about sending content, then send presents for me and Alex. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, Alex, I will speak to you in your birthday month then. Thank you very much.
And yours.
This is the Dadler Soul Sessions. It's January's Dadler Soul Sessions, the 4th of January, just gone 9 o'clock. We've got Chris Stein on the way very soon. He is from the Future Men organization. They're a charity, and he'll talk more about what they do and how you can get involved and how they can help you as well in a little bit. First of all, this is a little clip from Dadler Soul Sessions from 2023. This is when I chatted to Sam Delaney, the journalist and author. And this is what he talks about his time at Heat magazine.
Believe the lengths that some celebrities went to. The other thing is they become addicted to coverage and they stop caring about whether that coverage is positive or negative. They just want to be in there. But there were members of my news team who said that, you know, celebrities would ring up and put on a voice pretending to be someone else reporting a story about themselves. I remember a celebrity who I actually really like and really respect. And I bumped into her when I was doing a TV thing. She went, I tell you what, I haven't been in Heat for ages. I tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go out tomorrow morning. I'm going to put on like the shittest outfit I can find, get someone to snap me, and then you can put me in What Were You Thinking next week. I was like, okay. They said, just make sure there's a snapper near my house on Sunday morning. Yeah, they're not getting paid for that or anything. They just say, I've got an idea to dress awfully and look really ugly, and you take a picture and then take the piss out of me in your magazine, because then at least I'll still be in the magazine.
It's just a fascinating chat. You can go back on our YouTube channel or any of our other platforms and watch that back. Or it's also a podcast on the Dadler Soul Sessions podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Right, time for the main guest of the evening. This is a chat that I recorded yesterday with Chris Stein. It is time to talk to our main guest of the evening. He's Chris Stein. He's from Future Men. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Hey, Jim, I'm doing really well, thanks. And firstly, Happy New Year to you and all the Last Souls out there, whether they're dads, moms, children. We're all Last Souls in some degree, aren't we?
We are, exactly. It's a big combined effort of Last Souls.
That's right.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. See, this is still relevant. First week of January. I think it's good. It's after that it gets sketchy about whether you can still say it or not.
Yeah, exactly. There is that cutoff point, and it's always that, you know, no, it's the 15th of January now. There's no need to say Happy New Year anymore.
We're quite a significant portion into the year. Let's
exactly.
Give it up.
yeah. By June, no way.
Yeah, please. Okay, so let's talk first of all about your work at Future Men. What is Future Men? What does it do? Why does it exist?
Well, all massively great questions. So let's start from the very beginning. Future Men is the name, the brand of the current charity. And prior to that, it was working with men. And prior to formalizing as a charity in 2004, the organization was more like a kind of think tank, if you want. And it started in 1988 when a 17-year-old young man tragically took his own life, and his parents were searching for understanding and also searching for support for boys and young men. And really they came up against, well, a kind of tumbleweed. But a friend of theirs was an academic and took it on board to start to research the situation for boys and young men and some of the challenges that they faced through social pressures, broadly termed masculinity. And then in 2004, the organization formalized as a charity. supporting boys, young men, and men at transitional moments of their lives. And then in 2019, we rebranded to Future Men. And the rationale behind the rebrand was that the title Working with Men, very functional, very clear title, but also had aspects of it that were potentially maybe more deficit model based. So who are these men and why do they need to work with them? And why are you doing work with them? And how come they're being referred to you? And Future Men is much more aspirational as a brand, as a name, but it's also recognizing that society, and when I say society, I want to be very clear, we're talking about modern UK society. I'm not talking about men across the globe, for example. That there are lots of changes going on, and they have lots of pros and cons to around them, and some of those pros and cons are based in time and space, but also reflect, the intersectional aspect of all human beings, our sort of sexuality, our race, our ethnicity, our socioeconomic background, our age, and all sorts of dynamics that go into it. But the thrust of Future Men is to support boys, young men, and men, again, at transitional moments of their lives, which I'll come back to in a minute, but really to think about how to become dynamic future men going forward, how they can build certain characteristics that will prepare them for responding to challenges in an effective and non-violent way. So we base our work around 7 core characteristics that we support the development of. And those are nonviolence, as I just mentioned, inclusiveness, curiosity, resourcefulness, resilience, reflectiveness, and empathy. And those, as you might sort of initially say, well, those don't sound like they are just a preserve of boys, young men, and men. And they're not. Those characteristics are about being good people. But over the course of 35 years of work, scaled out across all the people that have come through the organization and added their spice to the organization. So that, aggregates out to, decades and decades and decades of experience and work. But these were characteristics that were found to be areas where many boys, young men, and men could develop, and therefore support them to respond to a multitude of challenges. So that's that's Future Men, and I've mentioned this idea of transitional moments. So let me stick with that for a moment. Those transitional moments that we work with are transitions from primary to secondary school, which is a significant challenge for many. Adolescence, which is a core biological and social change and development. We support young men who are at risk of falling out of education, training, and employment, or who are currently out of education, training, and employment, and trying to support them back into these areas. And we work with fathers across a range of different areas and activities, which I'll delve into a little bit more, given the context of Dad La Soul. Mm-hmm. And then we also manage 2 youth hubs in Westminster. And just staying with that concept of managing youth hubs, I think what's always interesting for me is that when I talk about youth hubs, many people will know them as youth clubs, but the core and spoke model had developed, the hub and spoke model has developed a lot more, where youth hubs themselves then link in with lots of other services within the community. So there's more than just a name change that's happened. Okay. And I just want to be clear on that. But I suppose the key thing about youth hubs is that they are, we often hear, for example, the lack of support around the caring industry. And often people's minds divert to maybe nursing sector or long-term infirm support. Youth hubs are also a caring sector formation. And it's so much more than playing ping pong and pool. It is responding to community trauma. It is responding during the lockdowns, supporting vulnerable families to receive food. It is responding to the challenges that the young people. It's not just boys and young men that attend the youth hubs. It's also girls and young women, but responding to all of their needs that are very immediate around education and family and parenting, and the challenges of friendship. So youth hub activity is really, really important work that is so often undervalued and misunderstood within society.
I see what you mean. There is that idea of a youth club as being just something, just like busy time, keep the kids busy, and which, I mean, is a benefit in itself. That is, something to do. But yeah, I guess you never really think about how it feeds into the community and the community feeds into it. Is that something that's kind of developed over the years then?
It's always been there, but I think it's one of those kind of those aha moments where you go, wait a minute, actually we're doing a lot more than we think that we're doing. When you go through and you audit your work and you're like, well, how many times have we worked with the police community support officers, or how many times have we interfaced with the youth offending service, because one of the young people that we work with is on an order and they need to know that this young person is safe and is developing. And then you start to think to yourself, wait a moment, we're like first line social workers to some degree. I mean, I'm not to diminish the complex work of social workers, but there are times when we're feeding into their reports. So yeah,
as kind of the I guess the first contact in many ways. If there's something troubling a child, that's possibly going to be the first place where it's going to be evidenced, I guess.
Yes, and to extend the point that you made just now, safety and development, and it's not easy to develop without safety. These are critical components of what personal development might look like. So in that regard, it's supporting young people to be safe in their community, and then also to meet like-minded young people who also want to experience some safety and develop within that context. It's massively important. And we run programs during the holidays, whether that's half terms or the extended summer holiday, and we're taking young people to do lots of positive activities, lots of fun stuff, which might be like things like bowling or even attending like a water park or something like that. But of course, again, it's also about socializing. It's about creating memories with other young people who are in your community. And once you start to build that social capital, that trust and that respect, that has a positive impact on how young people socialize with each other, which then has a positive impact on their wider community and wider society. So it's all very much needed work. And the other thing about youth hub work, I think, to really draw out, is it's that sort of non-institutional safe space. So it's not family, and it's not education, and it's not just out on the streets. There's things to do where people can engage through activities, build identities, and socialize all in the same space. And it's really, really important work.
In the work of the charity in general, have you found that there are different challenges that come along? Have challenges developed in the last, 5-10 years? Or is it sort of always sort of the same sort of thing?
Well, there are always themes. And then depending upon the period, they're going to come up and down in different intensities. So some of the themes over the past 5 years, taking us back to sort of 2018, well, 2019, yeah, 2019 now. So pre-pandemic, so the pandemic was definitely a significant challenge that challenged all of society in some way, shape, or form. But there were maybe some segments of society that may have even had some benefits to not commuting, to not running around all over the place, to potentially having, like you hear fathers who have more contact with their children. You also hear about parents who had to facilitate work whilst also facilitating home education, which was not a joy for everyone. You also hear about how women continue to do the lion's share of the housework whilst also working for an employer. So lots of challenges. But I think that those families that were most on the margins, those who were coming from the most deprived areas of the UK, and 58% of the young people that we work with, or the service users that we work with, hold postcodes in the 3 most deprived deciles of the entire country. So this very acute work that we're doing. And those families have struggled significantly more through the pandemic and post-pandemic as inflation has risen rampantly. So that the economy is definitely a major challenge. Masculinity, I think it was around 2018 that there was the ad that was delivered by Gillette, which was quite a seminal moment in some respects, that really called out many aspects of masculinity. And even though the term toxic masculinity, from what I understand, was coined in the 1980s, it took quite some time before it was here, there, and everywhere. And whilst it might indicate something that's really needing to be examined and grappled with, I think it's also fair to say that for some of the young people that we work with, it causes a kickback in the sense of, like, well, why is my masculinity toxic? Is masculinity de facto toxic? And of course, there's a conversation around all of that, and also an idea of trying to create a more curious. I mentioned curiosity as one of the characteristics that we are developing. So toxic to whom? Toxic how? Toxic where? Toxic when? Is toxic's quite an extreme word? What are the degrees within this? And thinking about that aspect of masculinity. Other things that have continued to occur. Clearly, there is a challenge within education and educational attainment for boys and young men. I mean, last summer we had the 33rd straight year where boys underperformed compared to girls in GCSEs, and that's something that is there. And we as an organization, we're not supporting necessarily educational attainment because we're not educators, but we are working in schools with boys and young men to build their attachment to education by supporting them to develop better communication skills, better being defined as those that are not violent, not immediate, that are reflective, that show a resource, that show resilience. And we're also looking at the topic of masculinity within our 6-week program that we deliver, called Boys Development Program. We support with motivation and goal setting, because this is something that has been shown time and again to be an effective method for supporting boys and young men as a cohort, not as individuals. It's very important to say this. I think that often you get dragged into conversations and you hear people say, well, that's not about me, and that's not about my friend Dave or whatever. And we're like, yeah, we understand that it's not about your friend Dave. It's about this group of people, and your mate Dave happens to sit outside of those norms, and that's fine. That's fine. But we're looking at this as a cohort. So, we're supporting boys and young men in education to build that attachment to education in its widest sense, like learning it, as opposed to just getting through exams. But yeah, we can see all these challenges that are there. And as your question asked, like, it's always there, and then it just kind of goes up and down in different scales.
Yeah, I guess I mean, something like the economy is, there's never a point where it's sorted, is there? There's a better economy and there's a worse economy, and then, you know, even when you're in the good times, the bad times are on the way, because that's how it works. And I guess being Future Men, that rebrand suggests there is no stopping point. It's always keeping moving. And, you know, do you have any idea, or do you consider what the challenges are going to be in 5 years' time or 10 years' time?
Well, I mean, we always are horizon scanning, looking out into the future and thinking about the different dynamics at play and the different ways that things might go. But we also remain humble as an organization to say, well, that's a hypothesis, but then what have we not fully understood? And that requires us to have multiple streams of feedback and qualitative surveying and understanding from the service users, as well as their families, which have so many different constitutional forms, and their ever-changing societies and communities. So we're looking out, we're looking at what the dynamics are at play, thinking about how there might be some benefits and disadvantages that occur as a result of that, and thinking about how we're going to respond. But we always need to check with our service users that we're on the right track. So AI, for example, artificial intelligence, when this time last year, when ChatGPT had sort of just hit the market, and there were many apocalyptic statements about how all of work was going to be affected. And, you know, it's impossible for anybody to say, well, that's not true. You know, it might not be as true as we thought it was going to be this time last year. But we don't know what 20 years from now looks like. You can see, one thing that is very clear to see is the speed at which this is proliferating into all areas. So the impact of the job market looks like it could be significant. How that impacts different market segments is difficult to say exactly. And then equally how that might impact service users, because even if it, you know, this is a thing about complexity, there might be a direct impact, such as somebody's not finding work, but if they have the ability to build strong relationships with either a romantic partner or friends or with community, then they may still have access to a multitude of resources which allow them to lead fruitful lives. So I wouldn't want to necessarily have a linear view of what success looks like, because that could easily condemn a lot of people to not that understanding of success, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Do people come to you? Do service users come to you, or do organizations come to you and you help them out? How's the process work?
We work in partnership with, so I mentioned schools. We work in partnership with local authorities, with hospitals, and also other youth hub providers. And depending upon the program of work, it might be that a member, a service user is coming towards us. So we run a program called Future Dads, which is delivered through hospitals in London. Currently, we're working out of Lewisham General Hospital. And we have another contract starting with another hospital in Southwark, the name of which eludes me at this moment. But And though the recruits to that are self-selected, so they decide whether they want to come on the program or not. The boys that we work with in the schools, they're often referred via the school referral process. We take referrals from social services, child and adolescent mental health services, youth offending services. So obviously those are all referred. And anybody who attends the youth hub, most of them are local residents, but sometimes they come from further afield. So yeah, it all depends upon what area and what program of work we're delivering.
So you work with dads then, as you say, future dads. So presumably that is expectant fathers, is it?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of arming them with the skills that they need or they will need very soon. Is that what it's about?
Yeah. So and interestingly, I was delivering an online version of our course on the 20th of December. And so we have two versions, one which is in person and it's through the hospital. And there, the dads, as they come in, are greeted by a plastic doll that represents a baby of about 3 months. And very frequently, you'll see the dad pick it up by the skull or maybe by a leg. And you're like, no, we're going to have to ground zero, guys, ground zero. Maybe they sweep it off the chair or something. But the thrust of that course is to provide some skills and knowledge around things like holding, winding, bathing, changing, developmental phases. And then we also facilitate discussions around what type of dad do you want to be? What are your cues for fatherhood? Where do they come from? How does fatherhood change over the life course? How does communication with your partner change over the life course? We talk about relationships with partner, with friends and family, with colleagues, and with self. That then brings us into thinking about our own mental health and well-being. We talk about anxiety and depression, and we're not advisors. We're not working to say do this and do that, but we are giving some general and overall understanding of anxiety, depression, and stress, and thinking about signs and symptoms, thinking about positive responses. And then we also talk about well-being, which is quite distinct from mental health. So we talk about the 5 ways to well-being. And then we also talk about budgeting as well. And often, like, talking about finances is very, well, yeah, it's very core to the concerns of many expectant fathers. So yeah, and then the online session does all of that, but only the discursive side. It's not we don't send that would be really bad, wouldn't it, if future men mailed out babies?
Oh, not a good look, is it?
No. Even if they are plastic.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating because a lot of people have things like antenatal classes, the NCT classes, which are great and they're really good for especially if you go with your partner and you get that kind of, you work together with these other couples, and it's also great for the social aspect. But actually something specifically related to dads is fascinating. That's a really good idea, because as we know through our work, the dad experience and the mum experience are different, and there are different, in general, there is very many similarities, but there are things you need to know as a new dad, and you don't find them out often until you experience them. So is this something that you're looking to take kind of further into other places?
So we've been running the Future Dads, previously it was called Expectant Fathers Program, but we've been running that for more than 10 years. And at times it's gone out of London, and at times it's been in multiple local authorities around London. I think the hospitals are still, they're still kind of recuperating after COVID. And of course, like, COVID isn't gone, that's also a fallacy. So they've been quite reluctant to have externals coming in. That's why we've taken on contracts through local authorities that are online. but yeah, I think at the height, there was one point when we were at maybe 8 different local authorities around London. So that was a real achievement, and we want to do much more with the work that we're doing, because you picked up on a really good point. A number of the participants to the Future Dads course have also participated in NCT. And very frequently the reflection is that while great, while useful, while definitely needed, it's not very much directed at them. It doesn't give them as fathers the space that they feel that they would want to discuss whatever their concerns are. And very frequently the responses from our feedback is, it's just great to have a space for dads and speaking with other fathers. There's something quite sort of safe about that. And it's also one of those kind of group experiences where some others are having experiences that are similar, or if they're different, there's still that safety in that group to allow for expressions of difference. So yeah, very, very needed, very necessary. I mean, it's all part and parcel of a world that we're striving towards, which has greater gender equity. And I think whilst the work in terms of gender equity for women in the workplace is far from done, that's not, we're not there yet. But perhaps there's been more work in that department than there has been work that has supported men to be more active in the caring role, in terms of domestication, if you want. So yeah, I think that we're all working towards the same goal, maybe just in different ways, and this is our slice of the pie.
Mm-hmm. Well, that certainly makes sense. So what does the future look like for Future Men? What's going on then?
Yeah, so we're in conjunction with the Future Dads course, we also support fathers from various backgrounds, working with young fathers. We work with fathers who have perpetrated domestic abuse and domestic violence, and our approach towards them is very much a public health approach, where we take a compassionate view, which suggests that though we can never condone the behavior whatsoever, there was once a day when those men were nappy wearing infants just like the rest of us, and then something went along the line. We're not psychoanalysts, but we're looking at listening and hearing and understanding and supporting. Very frequently these men have got a number of compounding challenges that they're facing. We also are the secretariat for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Fatherhood, so we have a direct voice into Parliament, and this is an area that we've added in a program of support called Agenda Dad, which is an online meeting forum open to anybody, and it's all advertised through LinkedIn. So our LinkedIn page is Future Men. I know, shameless plug, right?
Hey, you are more than welcome to it.
And we began this work in September. Dan, actually from Dad Less Soul, came and talked about his work with fathers in the Brighton, Lewis Hove area, and we're looking at 3 particular policy areas over this cycle up until June. So those 3 policy areas are mental health screening for fathers, because the current policy is that fathers can receive a screening, and the screening is really effectively like some questions and some understanding about the psychological space of that particular individual, and then signposting. That's kind of what a screening is. But a father can only receive a screening if their birth partner is in receipt of specialist mental health care. Now, there are a lot of different hoops that people have to go through, before they're in receipt of specialist care. There's a kind of awareness. What is mental health? What is in the postpartum phase of pregnancy and early birth? And what does this apply to me as an individual? Can I go and get support? Do I know where to go and get support? Do I actually go and get it? Do I then get do I get a diagnosis and a referral to specialist support? All of that has to happen before the dad can receive a screening. So this, to me, as an individual, to us as an organization, doesn't seem quite right, especially when you look at the poor outcomes for many who are new to fatherhood. And I think this is a key distinction as well, that men's mental health doesn't look the same as women's mental health, particularly around depression and particularly perinatal and postpartum depression, which has only really recently been accepted that this is something that fathers face. So we want to see mental health screening made as a universal offer. So that's one policy. The next policy that we're just starting this cycle now, January, February, and into March, will be about paternity leave, shared paternity, parental leave, paternity leave, and we'll be looking at a case example of good policy and listening to the impact of good policy. And then after that, we're looking at birth registration. Birth registration is not necessarily the sexiest topic, and it's quite small in the sense of it being about 5% of births have a sole registrant, and it's mother. Mother has de facto parental responsibility, and then depending upon the status of the relationship, she may have the ability to say, actually, I don't want him to be registered on the birth certificate. And whilst there might be cases where that there's a rationale behind that, there is also good evidence to say that where you have dual registration, you have greater levels of responsibility from both parents. So we want to see a review, if not a reform, of that policy, whilst also being very sensitive to the caveats around why some partnerships might not want them.
Okay. And these are things you have that kind of mouthpiece into Parliament, and is that sort of just a matter of finding sympathetic MPs and jogging them along, basically?
Yeah, and obviously we are going into an election period that is as yet undefined. That slows things down, being quite honest about that. But yes, you're completely right. There's sympathy, but also an appreciation of wider social forces. So, not all of their constituents will be parents, but all of their constituents will have had parents. And there will be an understanding that society is made up of individuals and families, communities, cohorts, and then wider society itself. So you hope, fingers crossed very tightly, that there are sympathetic, compassionate ears to listening to this and thinking about the challenges that the core of society, families, and individuals within those families face around all of these issues, with how to operate and manage themselves as efficiently and as effectively as they possibly can, whilst there's all this hubbub going on around. So, yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I will keep my fingers crossed tightly as well.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
whoever ends up in Parliament in the next year. Who knows who it will be. But it's great. Chris, it's been fascinating to hear from you. And I mean, if people want to find out more information, they could go to the Future Men LinkedIn page, or they could go to maybe your website as well.
Yes, futuremen.org. We're also on X. We have a YouTube channel. Actually, Dan's on the YouTube channel, having given his presentation, which was Dan. It was superb. It was superb. So,
but don't let that put you off. Obviously, there's also some good stuff on there as well. Hey, I'm joking. I'm only saying that because I know Dan will be listening.
Yeah, so the YouTube channel, we got lots of good stuff on there. We have a really interesting discussion actually around fatherhood and masculinity that I hosted with our support workers and project coordinators, and that was fascinating. So good stuff on there.
There you go. So I just throw something across the room. Chris Stein from Future Men, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
There you go. That was my chat with Chris Stein from Future Men. And if you want to find out more about them, get to their website, their LinkedIn page, or anything else. And let us know what you thought of this show as well. And make sure you're listening first Thursday of February when we'll have another guest with something to say about fatherhood or being a man or whatever. And don't forget, this Tuesday is Dadler Soul Extra Time live at lunchtime. We do this podcast, me and Dan, and you can get it wherever you get your podcast, Dadler Soul Extra Time. But we're going to do the next episode is going to be live streamed as well during the recording. So you'll get to hear all the bits that we have to cut out for legal reasons, and you'll get to interact as well. So if you've ever sat around going, they are talking rubbish, you can tell us that straight away, and we will get that feedback and we'll do something about it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you next month. This is